Ai te whaunga mataratanga o te pohi, ka haere atu a ihu, kia rātau i haere Māori runga i te moana hae, a te ki te ngaonga a ko ngaha, i ai e haere ana i runga i te moana ka ohorere a ka wehi te au e he. Nā hohoro tonu te kōrero mai, a ihu kia rātau ka mea kia manawa nui. Kua hau tēnei kaua e wehi, nā ka whakahoki atu a pita kam e te ariki. I te mea koko e tēnā ki a mai a hau, kia haere atu ki a koe i runga i te moana. Nā ko tāna mea tanga mai, haere mai a ka marere atu a pita i te kaipuki e he. Ka ohorere a ka tīmata te totohu, ka karanga ke ka mea hau e te ariki whakaorangi aha. Nā hohoro tonu te toro mai, ho toi ringa o ihu ka hopu ki a ia ka mea e te tangata whakapono iti. He aha koe i ngā kaurua ai, nā ka whakahoki atu e ia kia rātau ka mea. Ki te taka te kaihe, te kaura nei a te tahi o koutou ki te pōkahe. I reira pū anō i te raha pati a ki hai. I taia e rātau te utu e nei kupu ana. I thought I'd better sing that song, because I kind of got ngā kaurua. Ngā kaurua after following my cousin, Tai. My mother's a black too, so I had a bit of a blackout. So when it's the Ringatu Sabbath day today, and when Peter saw God going across Jesus walking across the waters, they got a hell of a fright, and they thought it was a ghost. And Jesus said, "No, remain steadfast, my people, it is only me." So Peter said to him, "If it is you, then let me walk across the water to you." So Peter said, "Away you come." And Peter started walking, and then the wind started blowing. Then he got scared and started to sink. And he yelled out to Te Kooti, "Save me." So Te Kooti put his hand in the water and pulled him out of the water and said to him, O ye of little faith, why are you in two minds? So I had to give myself a bit of strength today after following my cousin. It seems like, yes, I do work at the University of Waikato, but it seems to be Wainui Arangi's day today. That's okay. That's okay. And I support Professor Black with his idea that a chair for Te Haahi Ringatu should be established within Te Wainui Arangi. And I think I am the perfect candidate. Why do I say that? Why do I say that? I am a practitioner. I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning and I did my moata, as I do every morning. And when I go to sleep, I have my whakamoemiti. The karakia we sang when we went on to the marae today is the karakia whakaeke marae. What I've just sung today, just now, is the karakia te himene o te hāpati. So, Tai, I'm your man. Don't be in two minds. Hire me. I've come here to talk about Te Whakatōhea and our relationship with te matua tangata. Iripitani. How do I work this thing? Oh, well, there we go. Iripitani. Yep, there's a whare in Tūhoi that has this name. Te Kooti, when he arrived in Te Whakatōhea, Waioweka, January 1869, his kupu whakaari, Iripitani. Ka whakaora hau I te toenga o te tangata I hanga e tōku ringa, ka peia hau I te hunga kino, ka whakapaia e a hau ngā rohe o Reneti Hāwira. E rua ngā tikanga o roto I tēnei kupu, ko oti katoa, ko te rongo pai tētai, ko oti tērā, me tana riri ki te ao. This is the kupu whakaari that he gave to Whakatōhea. When our tupuna rangatira, Hira te Popo, went and met him after the Battle of Nātapa, they gave him free passage into the Whakatōhea. And if you can just imagine, look at that. If you can imagine how powerful that saying was to our ancestors. Second of March 1865, the Reverend Carl Sylvius Volkner was executed. When the Paimairire arrived in Te Whakatōhea, under the leadership of Kireo Paterau and Pātara Rakatauri, they arrived in Te Whakatōhea to share the good word of Te Paimairire. Under the instructions of Te Uahaumene, their prophet, to share the word of peace. Paimairire, peace. However, Kireo Paterau, he had his own agenda, because in February 28, 1864, Rangiaowhia, the church was burnt in Rangiaowhia, and his wife and two daughters were inside the house and were incinerated. So he had an agenda to come to Whakatōhea to seek revenge. Te patu ia te wakana. Te wakana had been known to be a carrier, a messenger for Governor Grey, writing letters to Governor Grey, alerting him of the movements of the Whakatōhea people. Writing to him about the Kingitanga recruits arriving in Opotiki to raise a party to go and support Kingi Tāwhiao at Rangiriri and also at Orako. The 2nd of March 1865, the Reverend Carl Sylvius Volkner was executed. The 5th of October 1865 was the land battle, Te Tarata, in Te Whakatōhea. 17th of May 1866, our rangatira Mokomoko was executed in Mount Eden jail, accused of the murder of the missionary. The reason being, it was said the rope that was used to hang Kauvokna was Mokomoko's rope. So you can just imagine 1866 under the 1863 Settlements Act, Whakatōhea lands were confiscated 144,000 acres. And Whakatōhea were rendered a landless people. The Whakatōhea had flour mills, Whakatōhea had trading ships trading overseas to Auckland and to overseas, providing the settlers with supplies that they needed. With the confiscation of our lands, Whakatōhea were in turmoil. So a prophet that had escaped from Te Kooti and had arrived in Waiaweka and bringing this word that koia te kai whakaora, that he is the saviour for the remnants of the people and that he will banish the bad people. If you can imagine what that sounded like, or the impact that those words from a prophet, a Poropiti, has prophesied, kupu whakaari, to a people that had been rendered landless and had practically lost everything. Whakatōhea quickly fell under the leadership of the prophet Te Kooti Arikirangi. Kupu whakaari, the word kupu whakaari. I don't see anything written that says where that word originates from. But I have a belief that his use of the word kupu whakaari for his prophecies comes from within te moana toi, because of our mautere whakaari. Whakaari tells our people what the day is going to look like every day because of its plume. It is our weather office, and it's never wrong. So whakaari to our people, it tells our people what the day is going to be like. With the change of its plume, it tells our people that the weather's going to change, a storm is coming in. So I believe his use of the word whakaari comes from the time when he was living amongst our people. Te whakatōhea Ngāti awa tūhoi, because it doesn't matter where you are, even on huiarau, you can see whakaari. Anyway, that's my belief anyway, and you can accept that or yes or no. But I'm pretty sure that's where the word comes from. Where else would he get that word from? Kingi Tāwhiao uses tongikura. And of course there's a rationale why he uses tongikura. But for us Ringatu, and my belief, I believe the word kupu whakaari comes from whakaari our mautere. So that's our rohe that was confiscated. 144,000 acres. And the Whakatōhea were placed on a reserve, the Ōpape Reserve of 22,000 acres. All the hapū of the Whakatōhea were placed on the reserve. In 1885, under the leadership of Hira Te Popo, Te Ariki o Ngā Tira, Whakatōhea came together and built this house, Tāne Whirinaki. This is 20 years after the confiscation of our lands, that we were in a position to build such a grand house. To build such a grand house. This house was only for Tohunga. The stories of the old people, only the Tohunga went in there, and they went in there korekaka. They went in there naked to pray. His kupu whakaari for this house is, tēnei ake ngā rā kei te haere mai, ka puka puka ia tēnei whare e te kiore. Kia pū are are, a ka pū are. Ka pukaia mai hoki e ngā kiore i te tuarunga putarawa i te kuaha. Ka arere mai te kāhu, ka titiro, a ka kite i ngā kiore e karikari ana i tēnei whare, i tēnei wāhi. Ka hiehia ki te hopu, kia mauaua kiore. Ka mea te kāhu ki te hiehia ki te hopu, he oi ka rerere tonu mai te kāhu ki tēnei wāhi ki te titirotiro. Koera tana kupu whakaari. E ki te ana, he could see that there were rats that were undermining the house. Our old people say it wasn't the physical house, but it was the spiritual house. The spiritual house, meaning the house this house was erected for the whakapono. For the purposes of Te Haahi Ringatu. So there are beliefs that there were false prophets that came to undermine the structure of the faith. In 1930, the house was taken down for renovations. The house hasn't been up since then. Our old people say that's the fulfillment of this kupu whakaari. That the people wavered in their belief of Te Haahi Ringatu and its tenants. The house, our people had attempted 3 times to put the house up, and 3 times the house has fallen. The 3rd time was under the leadership of Āpirana Ngata. And they had to pau toko manawa up, te pau tuarongo, and te pau tāhu. Once they got the tāhu up, a big gust of wind come, the tāhu fell, and the tāhu broke. So the house was left there, declared tapu, tū tapu. We had lots of interactions with Te Kooti. Mostly after he left us in 1869, he went into Tūhoi. And Tai talked about Tūhoi being the people of the Kawenata. But after he was pardoned in the 1880s, 1883, Te Kooti started to travel the land. This house, Te Pikihoro, was opened at Te Karaka in February 1889, and word was sent to Te Kooti to come and open the house. Te Kooti came through Opotiki. It said he had about 200 in his entourage. And if you understand how the people traveled in that time, they went with their pigs, they went with their cows, they went with their hei, women, men, and children. Because they had to take their food with them to eat. So they got to o Marumutu in Opotiki, Te Whakatōhea. And they went up into the hinterlands to Totoa, to the Meremere. And that's where they met opposition from the people of Tūranga, They didn't want Te Kooti to go back into tūranga because they remembered the past. Him being sent to Wharekauri and what happened to the people in tūranga when he returned. We had Matawherotera, we had Ngātapa, and the many battles that took place. So the people in tūranga weren't open to having Te Kooti return to open this house, Te Pō Pikihoro. How do I go back? And so he was stopped. He was stopped up in the Totoa and told to return. He didn't want to return right up until a couple of days before the opening of the house in February, 28th of February, that he agreed to turn back. And this is the mōtiete that he composed. Ka ore aku mahara aku nuka nuka ki aku tini mahara e pupu ake I roto I te hine ngāharo hoi. Ka ore hoki e tai a te pehi ki roto rai ai. Me pani atu ki te tini, ki te mano, ki te rau, e pai nei e hei, e hoa ma e hei. Ka tahi au a tamarangi, ka kua ki te tito, ki te hangarau e hei. Pere taku pere ki te taira, whiti kia hine mati oro e kui mā e hei. Tēnei au kai te kimi ake, kai te wau ake I roto I te ururoa hai. Kia ki te atu au I te marama mai o te ata, kia ki te au I ngā hihi o te rā, kia pā mai te mahanatanga ki te tau o taku a te kua papapiritia I te apitanga mai a te mātautau e hei. E kui mā e hei, kia tahuri mai te taringa ki te whakarongo ki te tangi a te mātuhi e tangi nei e hei. Tuia, tuia. Pere taku pere ki te tihi o hukurangi e hoa mā e hei. Kia tahuri mai te taringa ki te tangi a te mātuhi e tangi nei e hei. Tuia. Pere taku pere ki te tai toke rau ki te tiriti o waitangi kia mahara mai e hei. Ko ngā pura e nei I whiua e pōta tau ki te upoko te ika kia mahara mai e hei. Kia tahuri mai te taringa ki te whakarongo ki te tangi o te mātuhi e tangi nei e hei. Tuia. Ka ki te koe I roto I te waiata nei. Ko te manu nei, te mātuhi. Tēnei manu e kia nei ko te black wren. Hoi anō ko tēnei manu, he manu mataku. This bird is a very scared bird. It doesn't fly very high off the ground. It stays close to the ground. And it doesn't come out of, it doesn't come out of the scrub. It stays hidden in the scrub. So if you can just think about Te Kooti situation at that time, As Tai said, there was a price on his head, a gun to his head. So he's likening himself to this bird, the mātuhi, a very scared bird. Doesn't come too far out of the bushes, it just comes out and, according to the writings of the, in the books, that the bird doesn't stray very far from the scrub. Te ururoa. But its cry startles its enemy. Tuia, tuia, tuituia. He whakamataku I tana huari. Kāore aku māharahara aku mānukanuka. Aku tini mahara e pupū ake I roto I te hinengaro. He's very scared. He's anxious. He doesn't know what's going to happen to him. And he can't suppress those feelings of being scared and being vulnerable. Kāore hoki e tae te pēhi ki roto rā I ai. Me pani atu ki te tini ki te mano ki te rau e pai nei. Lots of the people traveling with him in his entourage, they may become orphaned. Why? Because the parents, if war erupts, they could be killed. Ka tahi au a tamarangi ka kua ki te tito tiso ki te hangarau. He's tamarangi. He's likening himself to the one that come from the heavens. He's tamarangi. Ka kua ki te tito ki te hangarau e. He understands all the lies, all the accusations, and the trickery that people will do to try and get him. Pere taku pere ki te tai rāwhiti ki ahine mati oro e kui e. He's looking to the tai rāwhiti ki ahine mati oro, ki a Ngāti Parau. Hine mati oro te kani a takirau. Those are I can say this because I'm a rāpata waha. I come off the sister, Risi here. He taharua. What he's saying is that the people of rāpata waha are chasing him. Tēnei au kei te kimi ake, kei te wau ake I roto I te ururoa. Ana e hunāna, I roto I nā rākau nei, e kimi haere ana I te wā, I hei putanga mōna. Hiding in the bush. Kia kite atu au I te marama mai o te ata. Let him come out of the bush so that he can see and he can feel the rays of sunlight. He's talking about freedom. That he can feel the warmth of the sun. He's talking about freedom here. He had been pardoned, but he still wasn't allowed to travel freely. Kua papapiritia I te awhitanga te mātau e kui mai. Lying on the wet ground, hiding from the people that are after him. He's lying on the cold, wet ground. It's just like, say today's weather. If you're out there lying on that cold ground, shivering, cold, scared. Katahuri mai te taringa ki te whakarongo.
It's recording out to the whole building.
Katahuri mai ki te whakarongo ki te tangi a te mātui, kua marama tērā. Pere atu taku pere ki te tio o hikurangi e hoa mai. Kei reira tonu tana tangi. But also, within Ngāti Parau was the support he also had there, Te Awera. The people of Te Awera, the people of Tokomaru, that he had his support there. Pere taku pere ki te tai tokerau ki te tiriti o Waitangi. Honour the treaty. Because that's what he stood for, mana motuhake. He was a freedom fighter. Ko ngā purapura e whiu e pōtatau ki te upoko teika. Ko pōtatau tēnei, te kiingi. He rite tonu, te tiriti o Waitangi pōtatau hea, ko te mana Māori motuhake. Ko te wero a te iwi Māori, the Māori challenge to the government of the time to remember the Treaty of Waitangi, to remember what the kingitanga movement was established for. Kia tahuri mai ki te taringa, ki te whakarongo, ki te tangi a te mātui, e tangi nei e tuia, tuia, tui tuia. Another interpretation of that tuia, tuia, tui tuia, he whakakotai a tātou, for us to be united. To be united in our fight for freedom. That the Treaty of Waitangi be honoured. I need to go back. Oh no. He also did a haka when he came back to Marumutu. Hiko te uira papa te whatitiri whakaheke heke ana mai runga o tūranga rae. E iaha tērā, ko te mana o kuini pea. E awhi ana i te tikanga ka kōri te ture e whakarunga. Ui atu kia mita renata. Nō wai tērā pere, hei aha tērā pere. Kei te ki mi tonu ake te oranga mo te iwi Māori e. Ere keiru ngā rānei kei raro rānei. Kei kō rānei anei ake rānei. Hi au e. Inside, in that haka, he challenges the mana, the authority of the Queen, Queen Victoria. He also challenges the truth of the bows. No ai tērā pere, hei aha tērā pere. That his bow is the only true bow. Because the other bows had stripped us of our lands. The other bows had stripped us of our economic force. He also makes reference to ui atu kia mita renata. No wai tērā pere. Mita renata is Mr. Leonard. Mr. Leonard was Wiramu's son, who had become the bishop after his father. So he was challenging the authority of Mr. Leonard. Ringatu has been within Te Whakatōhea for 149 years now, since Te Kooti first came to the Waiaweka at Te Wera. Te Whakatōhea built houses for Te Kooti at Maraitai. He built them up there in the Waiaweka Gorge. He built a house there called Tarauma for Te Kooti. And they also planted gardens for Te Kooti. Miles and miles acreage of riwai. So when Te Kooti, because riwai will just grow wild. So when Te Kooti was away, and if he had to retreat back into Whakatōhea, he had kai at Maraitai. These are our houses. That's Muriwai. These are where our te kaumāru are held today. Tutamure, Teiringa, Irapuaia. Te poho kahununu, te poho tama ki te rangi, te ao marama. These are where our rās are held today. They continue every month. We have the Te Kaumārua of every month, and we have the Hurai and the Hānuere. Our faith is dying. Our faith is dying because our days are on, our Te Kaumārua can fall on any day of the week. So it's hard for our people to attend the rā. Because our people have to go to work. Sometimes we can have a rā where maybe we have 10 people. Most of the people are old. In the good summer months, January, when we're at Waiweka, we have lots of people because it's warm, it's during the holidays. And that's not unique just to Te Whakatōhea. That's with every peka within Te Haahi Ringatu. You would have noticed out there this morning when we sung the Whakaeke Marae karakia, not all of us were singing. The karakia hāpati I konei, not everyone is singing. It's a commitment one has to make to save to the USB up here. So what's the strategy? Tai has set out some strategies. But it's how do we entice our people back to the rā? Our marae that hold the rā struggle, we don't have enough cooks. So the tohunga has to do the karakia at 4 in the morning, then get up and cut up the meat. And our tohunga are old. E tai, we need the school. We need the school to be able to train our tohunga. We use the word tohunga loosely. They say, you're a tohunga now. Tohunga means expert. So to take the title tohunga, you have to know. You have to know the karakia without a book. Our uncle's right. Lucky that our pautikanga 50 years ago created a book. Otherwise we'll all be singing whakamoemeti a rā wiri rā ko horomona. For a nehu, for te hākari, for a marina, for a nehu, because Te Kooti, he structured his karakia. And I believe that all was rolled out of Maniapoto. Te Kooti went to Miringa Te Kakara, and the tohunga there, Te Karepe, said to him, what are you doing here, Te Kooti? And Te Kooti said, I've come here to get the mauri. And Te Karepe pointed to his tongue and said, Kainga. Rahui Papa and I, one day we were talking about Te Kooti being in Maniapoto, and he told me the story, and he laughed. 2015 we had a Te Kaumārua when Kingi Tuheitia said, when can my mokopuna smell the breath, te hā, or te hā I Ringatu? When can he go amongst his hāhi? And if you know te Wainui, it's nearly falling down. Te kanohi o te motu. That's our mecca. Well, supposed to be. When we have our Julys, the 4-wheel drives are stuck too, because it's so poharu. Pohara, yes, and poharu. Mari. So I thought, oh my God, the king can't go to Te Wainui, to Te Kanuhi o Te Motu, the eye of the land, that's an eyesore. I'm the chairman of the Wainui. So we're looking for ways of rebuilding Te Wainui. Because surely Te Kooti said Te Wainui is Te Kanuhi o Te Motu, and there was a meaning behind that. A meaning we haven't realized yet as Ringatu. That it's a place for the Ringatu to gather. Like we have Ratana Pā, like we have Tūranga Waiwai. The mecca of those Māori institutions. We have Te Kanuhi o Te Motu. So we are said to say to Kingi Tuheitia, e te Kingi, no, we'll go to you. We'll go to Te Tokanga Nui Anoho. That was the first time we went back to Te Tokanga Nui Anoho since 1972, when the centennial of that house was celebrated. So it gave us also, the Haahi, Ringatu, the opportunity to go back to Te Tokanga Nui Anoho, to feel the vibe of that house, that magnificent house. That house there is the prototype of all the houses. Built in 1872. From there, rolled out Te Whai o Te Motu, rolled out Tāne Whirinaki. They all look the same. They all look the same. So what I gathered from Te Kārepe saying eat ane, the mauri of Miringa Te Kakara is on his tongue to consume it. Te Kooti was there for 11 years. By sitting with his people, how he consumed what was on Te Kārepe's tongue was listening. He sat with them, he wānanga with them, and he listened to them. From there, he wrote out his motete, e pātōreo, e te tai rāwhiti. Pine pine te kura, kōrero tia mai e tai. Ana kupu whakari, ona whare. And it's very, I think it's great that we're here today and we had our pōhiri in front of Te Hauki Tūranga. Te Kooti being an artist, and that taonga that's in Rongo Whakata, the taonga of carving, the art of carving, Raharuhi Rukupo, Te Kooti Zanuri, the many houses that he built and that were built around the country for him, he was able to develop his own style, carving style, within Te Rohe Pōtai o Maniapoto. Te Kooti died in Aotearoa. We fight over Ohiwa, Tūhoi, Whakatōhea, Ngātiawa, but the good thing is we come from the same waka. So Tūhoi will get up after and say he died in their rohe. Well, I got the floor, he died in our rohe. Tana, his kupu whakari, e kore a hau e mate i a koe, mate hau ai tū rānoa hau e mate ai. Many people try to shoot him. They either froze, or the bullet ricocheted off a belt buckle, or pierced his Bible. The 17th of April, he died at Te Karaka on the Ohiwa Harbour. What happened was that his spring cart collapsed while he was shading himself one day. And it collapsed and crushed his body. And he died from internal bleeding. He was buried, it was said today, that he was buried at Maromahue. Kei a Maromahue, ara. At that marae. He was buried at the Urupa there. But he was dug up and moved somewhere else. That hole stayed there right up into the 80s, empty. But one day when the PEP schemes came around, one of our cousins, Dennis Karauna, te mokopuna te huinga, he was leading the PEP scheme, didn't know the historic importance of that hole that was full of blackberries, told his gang to fill it up. That's why it's important for us, and this is a good gathering today, so we're able to share stories. Able to share stories to keep the stories going. We all have different versions. We all have different versions, but the one thing we do believe in, that Te Kooti was a prophet, Te Kooti was a seer, Te Kooti was a freedom fighter, Te Kooti gave us hope. He gave Te Whakatōhea hope after losing everything we had. And he gave us a purpose to carry on. And we still carry on his teachings today. Tōreira, huri no tō tātou whare, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā hoki koutou katoa. I'll just sing the song. He prophesies his death. Tērā te ahi te kāmaira, kei nuku wai he, nā tō ringa rawa koe he, I tahu mai he, kia mihi atu au, hohoro nā tō kau mai he, hei toko rua, hei hoa ke ki te moenga, e tuahu nei